はい、皆さんこんにちは。サクセスラボの弘子ラザヴィです。サクセスフォーウェビナー CS プロフェッショナルブック読書会をご視聴くださりどうもありがとうございます。このウェビナーは今月の24日に発売されるカスタマープロフェッショナル。はい、まだ私は手にしてません。こちら原書ですね。こちらがですね、出ますのを記念して、この内容を題材に毎回異なるゲストスピーカーをお招きして、議論していくというものです。はい、今日はですね、なんと、原書の著者であるルービンさんをお招きしています。後ほど対談していきますので、お楽しみにどうぞ。はい、ではここからは今日はすべて英語でやらせていただきます。通訳が必要な方、準備は大丈夫ですか？ Hi everyone, welcome to the CS Professional Handbook Club. This webinar, first, we will hear from Rubin and the co-author of the Customer Success Professionals Handbook. He is presently the Chief Customer Officer at Interam. He was the Chief Strategist at Gainsight for 6 years, wow, until 2020. Rubin will be sharing with us few interesting stories behind the book. Actually, I'm so looking forward to it. So let's get started. So Rubin, please tell us a bit about yourself and also tell us what brought you to writing this book, please.
Thank you, Hiroko. Konnichiwa. I live in Phoenix, Arizona with my wife. We have 5 mostly grown children, 4 boys and 1 girl. It's a big family. As you said, I'm currently the Chief Customer Officer at Interam. A little bit about Interam, we provide the best of customer experience and customer education, really to help companies increase revenue, improve retention, and decrease service expenses. And we work with very wonderful companies like Google, and Facebook, Amazon, Twitter, Snap, Stripe, just to name a few. I've been very fortunate to have worked in the technology industry since before I graduated from the university. Now over 30 years ago. So I am very much dating myself. I have seen the full transformation of businesses using some very large mainframe computers, and personal computers, and mobile devices, and social media, and internet, and the move to the cloud, and the introduction of subscription-based businesses to BDB software. All of it has come together really as a need to focus on customer success. And so, nearly 6 years ago, while I was at Gainsight, the very first book was written by Dan Steinman, Nick Mehta, and Lincoln Murphy. And I don't know if you have it there with you, Hiroko. I think I have it here on my shelf. But it was the why for customer success. What's the imperative? Why businesses and executives should take customer success seriously? And in order to sort of understand, sort of that foundation, we have to look at what happened in the past in business. And the vendor, the companies who provided the service and the software were at the center of the universe. They held the power between the customer and the vendor because there was limited number of software options out there and a very large number of customers. But today, the customer, not the vendor, is at the center of power. And because of advancements in technology, it has eliminated what are called the barriers of entry, making it very easy for small companies, startup companies, to compete and enter the same market as very large companies. And in today's world, customers have more choices. With social media, they have louder voices, much stronger words, much stronger opinions. And in some cases, they can cancel a subscription. So they have much more power with the simple click of a mouse. They can move to somebody else. So the rules have changed in business, right? And there's not enough that you as a software vendor sell a big contract and get a big logo and land a big customer. It's not enough that you implement them. It's not enough that you help them with their service. It's not enough that you help them with support. Customers expect value from your product and service. And, you know, while there was plenty of information about the why of customer success and why this was important, there was no definitive business literature that described how to actually do customer success as a profession. So this is what compelled Ashvin and I to write a handbook dedicated to the how-to guide of customer success, how to establish a team, how to perform the actual functions of customer success. And as a first-time author, I've never been an author before. It was the most difficult thing I have ever done in my career, but has been very rewarding and very satisfying. It was a lot of work because we had to do it. We did it in about 4 months while we still had our day jobs at Gainsight. We also wanted to make sure that it wasn't just Ashvin and I's voice coming through. So we wanted this to be a community. So we asked about 24 contributors, about nearly 20 contributors to join us in helping to write the book. Hope that answers some of that first question there.
Yeah, that was awesome. By the way, Rubin, I love the acknowledgement you wrote. You introduced your wife, Marta, as a binding. I couldn't understand first. What's binding? Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so in a book, a binding is the glue, right? It's the glue here that holds the pages together, right? And so, like, a good book has all, you know, can open and close and open and close and open and close. And as you go through chapters of your life, it's hard days, easy days, challenging days, lose a job, get a new job, have money, have no money. My wife was the glue to my life.
Wow, beautiful. Beautiful story. I love it. That shows that how important your wife played a role during your writing. Great. Thank you very much.
One more note. She actually is a content developer and editor.
Really?
And if you flip to the copyright page, you will see her name as the developmental editor down here.
Yes. She got the name of the role, right?
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah,
So
I want to see her someday.
She literally taught Ashvin and I how to write, how to express our thoughts, our ideas in written format. It's not easy. I know. And we were very glad to have her guide us.
Great. Okay, we're gonna move on the discussion part, right? And then I want to introduce to you Jun, who will be helping with me this session. So Jun is the regional director of customer success Japan and APAC at SakuCI. So Jun, do you want to take this over?
Hi. Yeah, I'm going to take over this discussion side. Hey, Rubin, nice to see you. Okay. By the way, I love about the binding with your wife is binding, but definitely I'm gonna use to my wife too. I'm gonna tell her that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. First of all, just curious about the feedback to the book in the US market. I know that the book was ranked as a #1 new release at Amazon, and then also I saw that it's 80% reviews on Amazon. It's got 5 stars. That's awesome. So and obviously, yeah, people like this about book. And could you tell us about what kind of comments or feedback that you got from the readers? Could you tell us about what kind of comments or feedback that you got from the readers directly?
It's humbling. This has been a challenging experience for both Ashvin and I because there's a level of celebrity that we did not expect. And there's a spotlight that goes on you when you do something like this. And I don't think we had the vision to see that coming. And while we had important roles at Gainsight, it can be overwhelming to have people speak very kindly about your work, and to do it in public, to do it on Amazon where the world can see it. And I think we have 155 reviews.
Wow.
I believe there's one person in Brazil that did not like the book. But only one. Everybody else said some wonderful things. I read it every day. I have been a customer success manager for 10 years or 7 years, and I still found golden nuggets. I found useful information that I had forgotten, or it was a good reminder for the things I need to think about. We particularly received a lot of positive remarks around the human aspect of customer success. And that is something that Ashvin and I very purposefully defined. I recall the one day where we hadn't made any progress on the book. It was months, and I traveled to San Francisco, and we got in front of a big whiteboard, and we said, we have to decide what we're going to write about. And it was blank. Nothing was on the board. And so we began to outline themes. And one of the very first themes was that this was a human-centric profession. That with all the technology and all of the advancement, if you think about it for one moment, most technology serves to disconnect humans and human contact. It puts barriers in between persons. And we believe that this is one of those professions that, while there's an aspect of the what's called the tech touch or the low touch customer success manager you could do at scale, much of the value of a customer success manager comes when they are communicating to a human, another person at your customer. And to look at your customer not as a brand, not as a logo, but as a collection of persons, of people. And you are not just helping that business succeed in making their KPIs, their key performance metrics, their financial objectives. You are helping the person you're speaking with succeed in their job. It's a privilege for me as a customer success professional to be paid to help someone else succeed. And so that's sort of the framework of the book. And how do you go about doing that in a way that optimizes when the humans connect, when the persons are connecting? Do I have as much information in front of me as possible to make the email very valuable, to make the meeting very valuable, to make the executive business review very valuable? No more should you just call your customer, hello, how are you doing? How are you feeling today? Can I send you a birthday card? Customers don't want to buy friends. They want to buy value from your service and your product.
Yeah, exactly. About the human, I love the part that you invited 16 contributors, right? And could you please tell us how difficult it was, or from where the idea came from?
Here's an inside story. Again, Ashwin and I had never written a book, and our publisher had a deadline, and we had to write like 55,000 words minimum. And Ashwin and I divided the effort up, and we were not making progress very fast. And I was panicked. I was freaking out. And I spoke to a colleague of mine who had just finished writing a book, Anthony Canada. And he says, you know what I did? I asked a bunch of people to write 1,500, 500 words each. And those are words I don't have to write. And it'll help you get the work done faster, and you get a different perspective. I was like, that is brilliant. And so literally Ashwin and I had identified the topics, and we started going through the list of persons that we believed would be able to speak to those various topics. And by the end, we wrote too much, and our contributors wrote too much. So we had to sever. We had to reduce the amount of topics, and that was very difficult. We actually had to go back to about 6 contributors and say, sorry, you did not make the cut. And it broke my heart. It made them sad. But I think they still like me. I think it's okay.
I think it's okay.
Thanks, Ruben. I saw this book is all about like a human first approach, and it was really good. And then, but on the other hand, also in the US, maybe some of the product tutorial or those are like product-led growth aspect is with embedded in the product also. But and then also this book's about really like a high touch aspect. But so for the tech touch part, how the tech touch is leading the customer success in the US.
Yeah, it is huge because ideally, in a fast growth company that is product led, you look at Adobe, for instance, very, very centric. Everybody always speaks to Slack, but it is such a unique unicorn. They found a really unique scenario. I don't often like to reference those, but in both those scenarios, there's no way you have enough persons to manage the number of accounts. No way. You can't hire that many people. and it would be too expensive. So you have to rely on building in what customer success would do into the product. There was a gentleman about 5 years ago that I met at Microsoft that they had just made the decision to invest $1 billion in customer success to transform, in particular, their Microsoft 365 product. And he was a customer success executive. They embedded him in the product team. And the reason they embedded him in the product team is because he would go back and forth between the CSMs and the account managers, and then come back to product and say, these are the 20 things that the CSMs are doing because the product can't. And the product engineers would optimize it, and then the list of things that the CSMs were doing began to shrink, and they became more strategic and less tactical, less teaching the customer how to use something and more connecting to the strategy and the value. And so Tech Touch is not just for what they call the long tail or the low end customer. Tech Touch optimally is used for all customers, all segments, because it optimizes where the humans connect the best and the most on the most important things. And so from an operational perspective, what we've seen happen is another new sort of sub-profession. It's a job called customer success operations. Much like sales has a sales operations function, most of the revenue, according to Gartner, 80% of future revenue is going to come from existing customers. It only makes sense that all of the interactions and operations and all of the technology and the tech stack needs to be managed by somebody on the customer success side, sort of after the initial sale. So we've seen this person arise as an incredibly critical portion to the success of a healthy customer success practice in CS operations. Part of that function is the Tech Touch, and what's really important. This is a salient point. The persons that are designing the communication that are done automatically through email, in product messaging, all of those things has to be done with a human lens, because you're connecting with a human. The product's connecting with a human, but it's a person. And so you don't want to lose sight of who your audience is. And so whoever you have in the seat, even though they may never talk in live conversation with a customer, they have to have that customer in mind when they are crafting and creating the messages. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, the other day I discussed with my colleagues that in Japan, in his company, digitally triggered touch. That should be something, maybe human touch or maybe tech touch, but all the triggers should be digitally kicked off. I think that is a very good idea for thinking about the next generation customer success point .0. What do you think?
I think that's fantastic, and in fact, Gainsight really sort of initiated that whole aspect of the digital trigger, right? And again, the digital trigger doesn't necessarily have to initiate a message. The digital trigger can initiate the start of a process, such as a trigger to start a renewal document, a trigger to flag a customer as at risk to the CSM, a trigger that notifies sales of a new opportunity based on data that may not surface, right?
Yeah.
So this is again using machine learning and AI to surface opportunities of a customer that is trending very, very positively, and literally hand a sales rep, for instance, an opportunity and a customer that is doing really well. And maybe they're not a reference. Maybe they've never done a survey. Maybe they've never done provided a positive review on online review board. So there's all sorts of digital triggers. I like that term, Hiroko. Digital triggers is definitely at the core of all of this.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
I think like a digital trigger will be like a new trend or like a maybe main trend. And also like about the trend, that I got a interesting question from the audience that for like the customer success, the most of the one of the most important aspect is to make the customer realize the value of the services or product. And do you see that like any like a trend for like industry cut of the value realization, like kind of framework or like a trend for the like industry cut?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say customer success was born and is still very much tied to technology companies.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But we are seeing an example I like using often in the United States. There's a company named John Deere, and they make tractors. They made tractors for over 100 years, farming equipment.
Mm-hmm.
2020 marked the first time in that company's history that they have more software engineers on staff than mechanical engineers. And what they've done is through IoT, they've enabled tractors and implements and things to that effect. And it's no longer about selling tractors to farmers. It's about selling crop output. And so they use data from the National Weather System. They use soil samples that they get from these devices that as the tractors roll through, it's taking sample, it's doing chemical analysis on the data. It's looking at all the other John Deere customers in a particular geography. And the people who are this is not a technology company, this is a tractor company. They're coming to these farmers, the corporate farmers, and saying, if you come and be a John Deere customer, we'll increase your output, whether it's soybean or corn or whatever that crop is, if you follow our best practices. And you use our implements and you use our products. And it's
Right.
not about the sale anymore, it's about the value. So we're seeing this happen. I know Gainsight, for instance, has Rockwell International. We're seeing GE. We're seeing like companies across the board that are traditional industrials that have nothing to do with technology, adopting some of the framework and some of the methodology.
Yeah, actually, I'm remembering the word that vertical leap. I think you've heard of the word that TSIA is saying that, that vertical leap. If you focus on the vertical, then you can leap. It sounds a little bit funny,
Yes.
but yeah, I think it's very important. And these days, Salesforce bought a company very strong at government or manufacturing. Those are the very important shift, I think.
Yeah, it is. It is absolutely true. I think that companies in general, that if they can figure out how to tailor their product, and more importantly, the messaging, and how to use your product in a specific use case that resonates and makes sense to a vertical, those companies explode in growth.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Ruben. Yeah, there's so many aspects of this book, and then definitely we have so many common practice in the among the industry as well. So this will be I think the almost time in the end. So this will be a last question from the that I got picked up from the audience. So could you tell us about the how kind of struggling part of this book, because there's so many culture and the practice behind the company, but definitely it's you need to kind of concrete various culture in this book. But so what's a kind of your experience?
It's a great question. Whoever asked that question, congratulations, because it's I wish I could give you a prize. It was literally the hardest part of the book. Is to figure out what to write, and how to make it applicable to the widest audience. It was interesting. Somebody at one point had been critical that we didn't go into enough detail on certain subjects. And I was like, I agree. I wish this could have been a 3-volume book, because at the end we couldn't stop writing. We were forced to stop writing, because I think this is sort of like an endless a topic. But we had to focus and sort of force ourselves into thinking, what is common, right? And what is common is the simple truth. If you look at businesses, whether they started 20 years ago or 100 years ago, right? Look at the core functions of a business. They still are performing the same way. Marketing does what? Marketing is creating demand, they're building a brand, and they're generating leads. What is sales busy doing? Working the pipeline, they're closing new business. What does professional services do? They implement, they get customers started on the journey. They close SOWs. What is support? They're reacting to customers and transactions and tickets. But no one function was responsible for making sure the customer was attaining their desired expectations, starting from the sales cycle all the way through. And no one was ensuring that the customer would stay a customer and buy more stuff. That was the commonality. So despite, or it doesn't matter sort of the culture, the size of the company, what industry they're in, what geography they're in, doesn't matter if they're in Japan or in the United States, the company shared the same problem in this new age of the customer, which is why I believe Ashwin and I were blessed to have been part of this journey in writing this book and capturing all the stuff that we've learned along our own journey, and the things that, again, it's a reflection of all of the interactions that we've had comprised in this book. So I hope that answered the question from the individual there.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing your experience. And that's it for the question. Okay, I'm passing to the Hiroko then.
Okay. Wow, this is a really exciting discussion. Thank you very much. And hope you, everybody, learned something and that you can get back to your daily life. So Rubin, again, thank you very much for your time today. I enjoyed it. So hope you enjoyed it too.
Fantastic. I had a wonderful time. Peace. Thank you very much.
And thank you, everyone. Hope to see you again and have a good rest of the day. So bye for now.